Howdy! Welcome to the Deep Space Travel Break, Episode 7. As always, brought to you by the Deep Space Travel Network. Find your next travel destination with DSTN at deepspacetravelnetwork.com. That's deep-space-travel-network.com. DSTN does not guarantee the accuracy of provided portal coordinates. DSTN is not responsible for accidents involving incorrect portal coordinates or boring vacations involving correct portal coordinates. It's time for housekeeping. I have a couple of video essays and similar projects in the works right now. However, I actually injured my right arm pretty badly a couple of weeks ago, so I haven't really been able to edit as quickly as normal. So I appreciate your patience as I recover, and hopefully I should have another video out next week. But again, it's kind of hard to tell. And the video that I'm hoping to put out next week is something that I'm really passionate about, and it celebrates all 5 years of No Man's Sky's fascinating post-launch development. So if you haven't yet, subscribing now will make sure you don't miss it when it lands. But alright, that's all for housekeeping. So let's see if we have any news for No Man's Sky. Patch 3.67 is live on all platforms. This brought some small improvements and bug fixes for settlements, base building, and other areas. It didn't seem to resolve a lot of the issues I had heard people encountered with Expedition 3, but they are currently building up a new patch on the Steam experimental branch, so hopefully that'll release soon and relieve some of those issues. In other news, Procedural Traveler, that's at ProceduralTRV on Twitter, pointed out that AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution now lists No Man's Sky as an upcoming Super Resolution game. Previously, Hello Games was listed as a developer supporting AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution, but now we have official confirmation that No Man's Sky itself will soon add support for the tech. So in case you didn't know, AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution technology essentially allows you to render a game at a lower resolution and then upscale it with an algorithm that gives you a similar picture to just rendering it in that high resolution to begin with. But this results, because you're rendering it lower, in higher performance. So for example, instead of rendering No Man's Sky on your PS5 at 4K, with Super Resolution you would render it at 1080p and then intelligently upscale it to 4K. So you get a very, very similar picture, but the performance is much better. And depending on how much better that is, Hello Games could use that extra overhead to increase draw distance or add additional effects without tanking performance on those compatible systems. That being said, I don't think they're planning to bring the tech to the PS4 or some of the older consoles, but it's still an exciting development nonetheless for the future of the game. And for the systems it does come to, I think it'll be a welcome improvement. So with that, let's move on to our topic of the week. This week I am discussing No Man's Sky Expedition 3, Cartographers. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Expeditions in No Man's Sky are a time-limited game mode that take players on a unique gameplay journey to earn exclusive rewards that you can use on any of your save files. Expedition 3 Cartographers is the latest, released on September 8th, 2021, and was announced as running for 2 months. So, I personally have my doubts about that, and I expect it to end probably before the last week of October, if I had to guess. Either way, if you haven't given it a shot yet, is it worth your time? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about. Okay, so first let me preface my impressions with an admission of bias, because I love No Man's Sky, obviously. And I tend to have a more positive interpretation of mechanics and design decisions than others. That being said, I'll try my best to present the pros and cons of this expedition as fairly as possible. But let's start off with the positive stuff. What did I like about it, and what does it do that makes it a unique experience? Well, like other expeditions, every other player starts on the same planet. Only this time there's a twist. Unlike Beachhead, where I was off the ground in about 5 minutes, the majority of this expedition is actually spent trying to escape the starting planet. And while this kind of has the potential of being an even more drawn out version of the tutorial, I found it actually led to an interesting type of gameplay that I haven't really had to deal with since 2016 when the game launched. By removing your ship from the equation, the game forces you to contend with the survival and ground navigation mechanics that are usually either just a minor nuisance or a self-imposed challenge in the normal game. because you never really need to use a Minotaur to explore a planet normally, because you can just fly over the landscape in your ship and land wherever you like. You don't really need to harvest oxygen in the main game, because you can just buy a stack of several thousand from traders in the space station. So what Cartographers did a great job of was reminding me just how interactive planet surfaces are. You can scan, you can mine, you can tunnel, you can swim, you can climb mountains and scale cliffs, you can ride animals and fight sentinels, build bases, and become familiar with your surroundings. No Man's Sky is all about traveling to new planets and seeing new things, but Cartographers is all about becoming as intimately familiar with a single location as possible. I think it's a really cool idea, but how does it work in practice? Well, honestly, it can be a mixed bag at times. I've found your enjoyment may vary pretty significantly based on RNG. For example, my ship spawned about 5 feet away from a floating trade terminal. Now, I didn't use it right off the bat, but for other players who spawned potentially hours from a trade terminal, it would have been a lifesaver for them. For objectives that require finding a specific building or charting undiscovered regions, that will also vary for different players. I played as soon as it went live, so most everything was undiscovered for me. A month in though, who knows? You might have to travel to another planet after fixing your ship in order to complete that milestone. Of course, on the flip side, the later you start, the more likely they'll have a lot of the bugs ironed out. It'll also mean that the planet will be covered in player bases that you could probably loot to complete some of those milestones early. So, besides the RNG-based milestones, how does the rest of the expedition play? Well, I'm happy to report that the milestones in this expedition are more difficult than they are tedious. And I know that may sound counterintuitive, but I would rather be challenged to fix my engine with difficult to obtain materials than chart 60 waypoints like I did in the Pilgrim's expedition. Like seriously, that was a pain in the ass, and it took a long time. So if you read all of the milestones early, most of them for this expedition can be completed by simply paying attention to the world around you as you explore. So scan everything you pass, dig up anything you find, and save every waypoint you can. This lack of gameplay padding can be seen in my personal total playtime. I completed this expedition in 3 hours and 40 minutes, and that was on my first go without any knowledge of it. And I think that's a very reasonable playtime. Of course, some people have taken significantly longer, and that's great too if you're looking to savor the experience and really make it last. But for those who are afraid they won't be able to complete it in time, I wouldn't worry. It's doable. I did it in a single play session, but if you have say a week to go, it's something that's very doable, even just playing a little bit each day. So, before I give my final impressions, let me quickly go over the expedition rewards. I am happy to report that like the first two expeditions, upon completion you will be awarded a commemorative decal, player banner, and title exclusive to this expedition. As a collector myself, these are probably my personal favorite rewards, and definitely the ones I was most excited for. But, maybe you don't care about this stuff. Well, if you're a base building type, you'll definitely want to complete this expedition, trust me. You'll unlock the Cave Creeper, Fingery Deposit, Saucer Fungus, Veined Flatcaps, Troglodyte Tulip, Bio Lantern, and Holographic Chart Projector building parts that you can't get anywhere else. And holy cow, that's a lot of exclusive base building parts. The Cave Creeper is a must-have foliage piece. I've seen people do some incredible things with it on Twitter. And the Holographic Chart Projector is an amazing prop that's unlike anything else currently in the game. So it projects pretty much the size of a room, a whole little simulation of a solar system, which is incredible. It's perfect for not just planetary bases, but freighter bases too. So if you're a base builder, this is definitely a can't miss expedition. You have to complete it. And make sure you claim those rewards before quitting. But I hear you. You're not a base builder. You're an explorer. You don't care about base building or the multiplayer decals or banners. So is there anything else for you? Well, yes, there is. But sadly, there's not that much. So, another reward is an exclusive appearance modification that gives your jetpack a bubble trail. It's pretty unique and the type of thing that I love to see expeditions give us. Other than that, you can also unlock the Whispering Companion Egg. So this egg hatches into a companion version of the biological horrors that you see all around the universe. And while, I personally won't hatch it, I think it's a pretty intimidating companion and a pretty cool reward. And that's it. So, now that you have an idea of how the expedition plays and what sorts of rewards you'll earn, I can give you my overall recommendation. I recommend it for anyone interested. And by that I mean, if you're not interested in any of the rewards, then it might not be worth your time. But with such a short completion time, I think even mildly curious players should give it a try. And now that Hello Games have added additional save slots, there's no barrier either. So if you're up for a survival challenge on an alien world to earn some unique rewards, don't wait. Cartographers will be gone before you know it. So before I wrap up this probably pretty short episode, I would normally highlight something from the community, but today I'm taking a slightly different approach and doing some self-promoting because I totally forgot to mention that I actually have a short video up with my best tips and tricks for Expedition 3. Whether you're an experienced player or on your first expedition, I bet there's something to be learned from it. But that's not even the best part. The real community highlight this week are the comments below that video. So many people took the time to comment their best tips and time savers, and a lot of them are even better than what I say in the video. So I definitely suggest checking out the comments for the latest pro tips. And thanks again to everyone who has contributed to that. Alrighty, well that wraps up this episode of the Deep Space Travel Break. Bit of a brief one, I thought it was longer. It took me a while to write the script, but I guess it turned out pretty short. Thanks again for giving it a listen and for your feedback and support. Liking the video and subscribing makes a big difference for this little channel. And I hope to continue improving the quality and content of my videos as time goes on. And hopefully you'll be there to see it. Also, let me know what kind of content you want to see moving forward. I have a few ideas in the works and hopefully, like I said, an extra video going out next week. But I won't necessarily make the kind of stuff you want to see unless you actually tell me to make it. So I'm taking all suggestions. But thanks again for listening and I hope you have a good one. Until next time, see ya!